The year is 1944. The supply lines are cut. The fields are ash. The livestock is gone. Your family hasn't seen bread in 3 weeks. And the ration cards are worthless because there's nothing left to ration. You're not on the front lines. You're just a civilian in a collapsing society where food has become a memory. Your children are crying. Your stomach stopped growling 2 days ago. That's when you know it's bad. When the hunger stops hurting, that's your body giving up. But there are trees, thousands of them. And inside that bark, between the rough outer shell and the hard wood, there's a layer your ancestors knew about. A layer that's kept humans alive through famines, sieges, and ice ages. The cambium, the living tissue of the tree. This is ancient knowledge, rediscovered by desperation. The Finnish ground it into bread for centuries. Native Americans taught starving colonists how to scrape pine bark and survive. During the siege of Leningrad, people boiled it into soup. Millions are doing it now across Europe, stripping trees to stay alive. Let me show you how. First, understand what you're dealing with. A tree has layers. The outer bark is dead, tough, filled with compounds that'll make you sick. That's not food. That's poison wrapped in armor. The wood itself, the xylem, is pure cellulose. Your body can't digest it. You'd starve with a full stomach. But between those two layers is the cambium. It's a thin ribbon of living tissue, slippery, pale, sometimes green or cream-colored. This is where the tree grows, its nutrient highway. And this is edible. Barely, but edible. It contains carbohydrates, trace proteins, some fiber. It's not a meal. It's emergency fuel. The biological equivalent of drinking transmission fluid to keep an engine running 1 more mile. It's not good, but it's something. Here's how you harvest it. You need a living tree. Dead trees are no good. You're looking for pine, birch, elm, willow, or spruce. They have thicker cambium. Avoid cherry, yew, and black walnut. They'll poison you. Find a tree at least 6 inches in diameter. You're not killing it, just wounding it. Cut a vertical strip of outer bark about 4 inches wide, from waist height up. Use a knife, a sharp stone, anything. Peel back that rough bark carefully. Underneath, you'll see it, the cambium, smooth, wet, almost translucent. Scrape it off with your blade, pulling it away in strips. It'll come off like wet paper. Don't wring the tree. Don't cut bark all the way around. That kills it. You take a strip, maybe 2 from different sides, and you move on. One tree gives you a few handfuls. You'll need a lot of trees. Now you've got this slippery, fibrous material. Raw, it tastes like wet cardboard soaked in pine sop. You can chew it, but it's tough to digest. You need to process it. The Finnish method is to dry it. Lay the strips on rocks in the sun or near a fire. Let them get completely brittle. Then pound them into fibers with a rock. Grind it further if you can, into a coarse powder. This is your bark flour. You can't bake bread with just this, it has no gluten. But you can mix it with any grain you have left, 50-50, to stretch it. If you have no grain, add water, form it into dense, gritty cakes, and bake them over coals. It will taste like you baked a tree, but it has calories. Maybe 600 calories per pound. And right now, 600 calories is the difference between moving and dying in your bed. The Leningrad method is faster. Boil it. Chop the cambium into chunks and boil it for hours. The heat breaks down some of the cellulose, makes it soft enough to swallow. Add it to soup if you have anything else, grass, leather, bone marrow. It thickens the liquid and fills your stomach. It keeps your metabolism from cannibalizing your muscles. The science is simple. Cambium contains complex carbs your gut can break down, inefficiently, into a little usable energy. But there's a cost. This stuff is rough on your digestive system. It can tear up your stomach lining. You might absorb 400 calories, but lose more through the damage it causes. This is a last resort. You eat bark because the alternative is starvation, and starvation kills faster. Famines don't announce themselves, they creep. First rations shrink, then they disappear. In Finland, this was cultural memory. They knew what to do. Here, we forgot. We're rediscovering it through trial and error. Some get sick, some die eating the wrong bark, but others survive because someone remembered or someone experimented just in time. Bark isn't food. It's desperation measured in calories. But when the world collapses, knowing that trees have an edible layer and how to get it without poisoning yourself might be the knowledge that keeps you alive long enough for the next harvest, if there is one. We left off with the harvest and the processing, scraping cambium, drying it, grinding it into flour, or boiling it into mush. You've got a handful of tree tissue in the desperate hope that it'll keep you alive. But here's the part nobody talks about: the cost, the trade-offs, the brutal math of eating wood when your body is already starving. When you eat bark, your stomach receives this fibrous, low-calorie mass. Your digestive system tries to break it down. You might extract 300, maybe 500 calories from a pound of processed bark. But digesting it costs energy. Your gut works harder, your liver filters more waste. And if you're malnourished, your body is already running on fumes. The net gain is dangerously small. A healthy adult needs roughly 2,000 calories a day. Eating only bark, you'd need 4 to 5 pounds of processed cambium daily. That's dozens of trees stripped every week for hours of labor, scraping, drying, grinding, burning calories you don't have. The nutritional profile is garbage. Almost no fat, minimal protein, no vitamins to speak of. You're running a biological engine on sawdust. So why did it work? Because people weren't eating only bark. They were mixing it. A handful of grain mixed with bark flour doubles your bread supply. A thin soup thickened with boiled cambions feels like a meal. Psychologically, it matters. A full stomach tricks your brain into thinking you're not starving. It buys morale. It buys time. And the trees themselves? Not all bark is equal. Pine and spruce are resinous but high in vitamin C, critical for preventing scurvy. Birch is milder, slightly sweet. Elm and willow are bland but safe. But knowing which trees won't kill you is paramount. Yew bark contains taxine, a poison that stops your heart. Cherry and black walnut contain compounds that break down into cyanide in your gut. During World War II, civilians stripped the wrong trees, fed them to their families, and poisoned them. This knowledge is life or death specificity. This isn't an obscure footnote in history. It's a survival strategy that appears in nearly every culture that's faced famine. The Finnish have recipes for bark bread or petu dating to the 1600s, which kept villages alive through failed harvests. In North America, native tribes used cambium as a seasonal food, a form of resource management. European settlers learned this during their first brutal winters. Without that knowledge, many colonies would have collapsed. During the Soviet siege of Leningrad, rations dropped to 125 grams of bread a day. People ate leather, wallpaper paste, and bark from the city parks. The survivors were the ones who knew which bark was safe and how to process it. But desperation doesn't breed sustainability. When entire populations are starving, they don't carefully harvest strips. They strip every tree they can reach. The forests around Leningrad were devastated. Once the cambium is gone, the tree dies. And once the trees die, that food source is gone forever. Bark eating is a tactic, not a strategy. It buys time. It doesn't solve famine. So would this work today? If the grid failed, if supply chains collapsed? Maybe, for a while, if you knew what you were doing. Most people would either ignore the trees or poison themselves trying. But if you had the knowledge and you acted early, you could extend your survival window by weeks, maybe months. But the real lesson isn't about the bark. It's about the knowledge. The people who survived World War II famines weren't lucky. They were informed. They had cultural memory, oral traditions, a playbook. When the crisis hit, they didn't have to experiment. Here's the protocol. In a real famine, harvest early. Identify safe trees now: pine, birch, elm. Practice processing it while you still have other food, so you're not learning with a starving brain. And mix it. Never rely on bark alone. Bark stretches food, it doesn't replace it. And understand the biology. You're not thriving, you're delaying death. Your body will catabolize muscle, burn fat reserves, and slow your metabolism. Bark provides a trickle of energy to keep you moving. It's a stopgap. The world is more fragile than it looks. A bad harvest, a war, a grid failure, any of these can cascade into famine faster than you think. And when that happens, the survivors won't be the ones with the biggest stockpiles. They'll be the ones with the most knowledge. So remember this, share it, write it down. Because the day might come when someone you love is starving, and there are trees, and you're the only one who knows. And on that day, this knowledge might be the only thing standing between them and death. That's the tree bark survival method. Not a miracle, just biology, history, and the stubborn human refusal to die quietly.